Are you ready?
Yes.
You have 4 minutes. Please begin your speech now.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speakers. We strongly claim that we should lower the age of adulthood to 18. Our plan includes 3 components. Number 1, people who are over 18 will be given the right to vote. Number 2, those who are over 18 will be punished as adults when they commit crimes. Number 3, young adults will be given all rights granted by civil law. Benefit, political participation of young adults. Political participation of young adults. We would like to prove that after plan adoption, the government will be able to reflect voices from younger generation onto politics and better address the social problems of future generation of Japan. Number 1, present situation. Under the status quo, the government does not take care of younger generation, but of older generation, because majorities are older generation. According to NPO Network, Rights 2000, quote, because the majority is elderly people, the politicians tend to focus on them more. Politics and politicians tend to focus on people who are most likely to vote for them. So the elderly will get more attention. This is a threat, liberal democratic society, unquote. Another evidence, according to Nicholas Kohler and Colin Campbell 2008, quote, realizing that few young people vote, few politicians are willing to address their concerns, unquote. These evidences clearly show how younger generation is ignored by the government. Number 2, effect. If we introduce this plan, this problem will be solved in 2 steps. Step 1, young adults will participate in politics. Let me quote what Mr. Munei, the professor of University of Osaka, said in an article of Japan Economy newspaper published December 4, 2008, quote, if the government gives the right to vote to young adults, they will get interested in politics and start to study politics, unquote. Because of the interest, they will go voting. Let me quote evidence from the report of Nara Prefecture 2003, quote, in Higashi Yoshino area, the people who are over 18 to 20 were given the right to vote when they had local referendum on combining with other cities. Then 90% of them were voting. These evidences clearly show that young adults will surely participate in politics or voting and study politics after plan adoption. Step 2, the government will reflect voices from younger generation onto politics. Let me quote an article of Asahi newspaper published July 22, 2007, quote, giving right to vote to young adults is the effective way to reflect their voices about unfairness on politics on generations such as pension system or budget deficit, unquote. Also, the voices of younger generation have a strong impact to change the politics itself. According to Martin P. Wartenberg, the professor of University of California, 2008, in the case of the United States, quote, thanks to votes of the young voters, the Democrats managed to win the election in 2006. Congress soon backed legislation directed at helping young Americans, such as the rise of minimum wage, unquote. Therefore, we can expect similar strong impact from 2.7 million of Japanese young adults. Number 3, significance. As the role of government, we have to carry out politics on the basis of everyone's voice. The government has a responsibility to take care of everyone, of course including younger generation. Let me quote an article of Daily Yomiuri published on December 17, 2008. Quote, with the decline in birth rate and a growing proportion of elderly people, it is extremely important to give younger generation a sense of participation in society as leaders in a depopulating nation, unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, younger generation will be the next leader of this country. Therefore, hearing the voices from younger generation is extremely important for the future of this country, for this liberal democratic society. That's why we strongly beg to propose. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speakers.
Now it's time for questions from the negative team. Please stand up. Are you ready?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Please begin now.
Okay. First, where's Higashi Yoshino?
Higashi Yoshino is one city in Nara Prefecture.
How can you say the data from Higashi Yoshino can represent whole of Japan?
This is one of the examples. I'm going to give you another examples.
Okay, no, thank you.
No, thank you. All right.
I asked you, how can you say the data from Higashi Yoshino can represent whole of Japan?
I don't say Higashiyoshi no example represents Japan, but we say young adults are interested in politics because of this example. This is our
Okay,
assumption.
thank you. Yeah. What do you mean by impact?
Impact is the power to change the politics. How those young adults, 18 to 90 people, can actually change the politics. This is what we call impact to change the politics.
Okay, thank you. What do you mean by democracy?
Democracy means hearing voices from various kinds of people. But we say under the status quo, elderly is too much take care of the government, and younger generation is ignored by the government. This is bad things because younger generation's voice cannot be heard by the government. So we say listening to this kind of voice is also important element. Hearing many voices.
Thank you. Why do you think America is related to Japan?
Why? Because in America, the age of adulthood is actually 18, and those younger adults actually change the politics in America. This is an example to prove that a young adult can actually change the politics.
Is that only example?
What?
Is that only example?
What do you mean by all example? What kind of?
Is that the only example?
Another example. I'm going to give you. The young voters carry Obama to victory. According to...
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Where's evidence of the young people's voice aren't heard?
Evidence of NPO network, RISE, or Nicholas Kohler and Colin Campbell, the researcher.
Could you repeat that, please?
First evidence, according to NPO network, RISE 2000, the organization. NPO network. You asked me the source of evidence.
No. Do you have any evidence of the young people's voice now, not being heard?
Not being heard. I said NPO evidence because the majority is sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
The negative figure. Are you ready?
Okay.
You have 4 minutes. Please begin the speech now.
Thank you, honorable judges, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today to debate the motion Japan should lower the age of adulthood to 18. We, on the negative side, strongly oppose this motion. We will show you throughout this debate why the age of adulthood should not be lowered to 18. One question I would like you all to keep in mind is, would lowering the age of adulthood really be beneficial for Japan? Our first point is the need of parental consent. According to the law, minors need parental consent when they sign contracts, while those over 20 do not. This law protects young people. The average amount of money 20-year-olds lose to illegal business practice is twice that of 18, 19-year-olds, even though there is not much difference between their average incomes. This clearly shows that parental consent helps reduce the number of financial crimes because parents have more experience than children. They can lead to right decisions. If the age of adulthood was lowered and parental consent is no longer necessary for those over 18, it is likely that the number of financial crimes will increase. This risk should definitely be avoided, and we can do this by not the age of adulthood, lowering the age of adulthood. Our second point is decrease in voting rates. The voting rate is very low now. A research done by the Mainichi newspaper showed that 58% of the people disapprove of the current government, which proves that the majority do not have faith in them. Moreover, a research done by the Asahi newspaper showed that 56% of the voting population is against giving 18-year-olds to vote, right to vote. If we lower the age of adulthood under this situation, the government would be completely ignore the public opinion, and it would surely lead to the citizens' further distrust in the government. This is the data the Cabinet Office asks people whether they think their opinions are being heard by the government or not. The percentage of people who don't think the government listens is very high, and this is the data of voting rate. It is decreasing. The two data show that when people think that their opinions are ignored, they no longer go to vote. That is definitely not a state that is desirable for Japan. So it is important that we prevent this by not lowering the age of adulthood to 18. Now please recall the question I asked you at the beginning of my speech. Would lowering the age of adulthood really be beneficial for Japan? By the two reasons, need of parental consent and decrease in voting rates, we have clearly shown you what a horrible state Japan will be in if we lower the age. That is why we strongly oppose to the motion Japan should lower the age of adulthood to 18. Thank you.
Now it's time for questions from the affirmative team. Are you ready?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes. Please begin now.
Okay, for your first point, you say that the parental consent is protecting young people. How many are being protected right now? Have you got any data? How many people aged 18 and 19 are being protected by this parental consent?
But we don't have data.
You don't have data, okay, thank you. Next, you say that parental consent helps reduce crimes.
Because the damage of money,
Have you got any evidence to support your arguments?
we said National Consumer Affairs Center of Japan,
Could you repeat it briefly?
National Consumer Affairs Center of Japan.
What did that say?
That says damage of legal business practice is twice the 18 and year-olds.
But have you got any data evidence saying parental consent helps reduce crimes?
18 and year, no.
No, okay, thank you. You say 18 and 19 will face risks, but does that mean they have no knowledge? They are vulnerable.
Repeat the question, please.
You say 18 and 19-year-olds face the risk after taking our plan, but are you saying that 18 and 19-year-olds are not ready? They don't have enough knowledge?
No.
Then why do you say that 18 and 19-year-olds will face the risk?
Adults have more experience than children.
So you say children do not have enough experience?
No. Children.
Okay, next question. How many people will be put into danger? After taking a plan, how many of these young adults will be put into danger?
We don't have about.
Okay, you don't have it. Thank you. Moving on to your next point, you say about the voting rate. You said 56% is against giving the right to vote, yes?
Please repeat.
56% of the young adults is against giving the right to vote to 18 and 19-year-olds.
Did you say young adult?
To 18 and 19-year-olds, 56% doesn't want to give it to these people.
56% of the voting population
Doesn't want to give it to young adults.
a right to vote.
Yes. Okay, so 44% doesn't mind giving it to young adults.
No. 23% of approved.
23%.
23%.
And what about the remaining percentages?
Sources?
The remaining percentages. You only have 56 and 23. Okay, next question. What is public opinion, which you mentioned? Is this 56% just public opinion?
But could you repeat?
Time. Time. Now it's time for the negative attack. Are you ready? You have 2 minutes. Please begin the speech now.
Okay. The affirmative side mentioned about the young people's voice wasn't heard because majority of population is over 20 years. It's true, but it won't change if we lower the age of adulthood to 18. The number of people of 80 and 90-year-olds is only 2% of whole population. If they get right to vote, the majority is still over 20 years. And also, they are talking about advantages of 80 and 90-year-olds. But we are talking about all age of people and better politics. Better politics means it can reflect all people's opinion in Japan. It's more democratic. They are talking about only 80 and 90-year-olds. They are talking about only 80 and 90-year-olds benefit. Japan's benefit is more important than young people's benefit. So their points are completely refuted. Thank you.
Now it's time for questions from the affirmative team. Are you ready? You have 2 minutes. Please begin now.
Okay, you said even if we take this from majority is still over 20 years old, right? The majority population. Do you have any evidence to support this?
Because I said before, but the rate of population of 80 and 90-year-olds is only 2%. So the 2% of all population doesn't change majority.
Okay, now how much percentage is over 20 years old?
I don't know, but you said majority.
Okay, okay, you said public opinion, right? What is public opinion?
Public opinion means the opinion of all ages of Japan who have voting rights.
Okay, thank you. Do you have practical merit? Okay, moving on to the next question. You said after the plan adoption, all people's opinion is ignored?
I didn't say that.
What did you say in your second part? Please repeat briefly.
We said the majority of people and the majority of adults is now doesn't want to be the lower the age of adulthood to 18. And
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, speaker. Now it's time for the affirmative attack. Are you ready?
Yes.
You have 2 minutes. Please begin now.
Okay, today I have 4 attack points to give you, and I would like to go through them one by one. Firstly, for their first point, the parental consent. what is parental consent? And that is the minors need the parental consent, and they say this protects young people. However, they cannot tell us how many people are being protected right now in the status quo. That is unclear. They have no evidence. And moreover, they do not know, they have no evidence to support that parental consent actually helps reduce crimes. They have no evidence to support their statements, so their analysis is broken here. And they say that for number 2, my attack number 2, how many will be put into danger? We cannot see. After taking up land, how many people will face this economical danger, which they say? We cannot understand this, and we have no evidence from this. And moreover, I'd like to give you a counter-evidence. According to Mr. Satoshi Yoshida, who is a researcher at the Daiichi Mutual Life Insurance Company, in 2006, he says that, I quote, one study has shown that Japanese high school students have a better knowledge on finances than American students who are given consumer education, unquote. And this clearly shows that even after plan adoption, these young people will not be put into these financial danger because they have enough knowledge. Number 3 is, they say about public opinion, 56% is public opinion. Well, we do not believe so, and we say 44% agree to giving the, votes right to these youngsters, but they say no, it's only 23%. Well then, what about the remaining unclear 21%? What is that 21%? We do not see. So therefore, that data is totally unreliable. And number 4, they say that reflection of voice is needed. What voice? Well, when my partner asked, they said the public opinion of everyone. Well then, if everyone, why not include 18 or 19-year-olds? They said of all age groups. Well, doesn't that include 18 or 19-year-olds? That is why we believe that that process is broken. Thank you.
You have 2 minutes. Please begin now.
Thank you. Your second attack was about how many people face danger. But can I ask you, how do you know about the future?
I want to know how many you expect to be put into danger.
How do you...
What will the impact be?
How do you measure that though?
I'm not asking for a definite answer, I'm asking for estimation.
But what if the data doesn't exist because no one has researched it?
Well then, I don't think anyone expects this problem to happen.
Sorry, I'll go on to my next question. And you said that, did you say that 18 and 19-year-olds are given education? Could you repeat your third attack?
Okay. My third attack.
And briefly?
My third attack was about the public opinion. That one?
Were you talking about the 18 and 19-year-olds about education?
That one was, I said that in the first place, these 18 and 19-year-olds will not be facing these dangers. And the evidence I gave you was that, according to Satoshi Yoshida, who is a researcher at the Daiichi Mutual Life Insurance Company in 2006, he said, and I quote, one study has shown that Japanese high school students have a better knowledge on finances than American students who are given consumer education.
Do you have any other evidence other than that authority?
No, I do not. But this evidence I gave you, this Mr. Satoshi Yoshida, he did this research based on 10 high schools and 15 universities, so we believe it is very reliable.
Thank you. And about the 40% agree and the 20, and you were asking about the remainder, but you did not allow us to finish our answers, did you?
Well, I think I gave them enough time.
Okay. And we said that the rate of voting will decrease.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Are you ready? You have 2 minutes. Please begin now.
Let me give you a defense speech. First, they said after the plan adoption, even if we take this plan, the people over 18 to 19 is just 2% after the plan adoption. However, so there is no much impact. However, there is impact. So let me give you one evidence of how much impact 2% 2.7 million votes can make by mentioning the result of House Council election. According to the website of Nikkei newspaper, in the year 2004 House Council election, Social Democratic Party or Shaminto in Japanese, which is one of the major political parties of Japan, got 2.9 million votes for proportional representation. So they could get three seats in the upper house. So, and these were the only seats they got. And therefore, this evidence clearly showed that the 2.7 million votes which come from who are 18 to 19 have a strong impact, which is enough to determine the existence of the political party which directly influence the politics of Japan. Secondly, they said after the plan adoption, they didn't. After the plan adoption, it's not democratic. They said, but under the school, there are too much care for elderly. So what we want to say is to create a balance between generations in terms of their voice being heard is important in keeping the meaning of a liberal democratic society. Thirdly, they said whether or not young people go vote or not, we have evidence. So let me quote. According to Mr. Monet, the professor of University of Osaka said in the article of Nikkei newspaper published December 4th, 2008, if the government, thank you very much.
Thank you, speaker.
I would now like to defend our points. Their first attack was about parental consent and how many people are, and that they attacked us that we do not have the data about how many people are protected. However, we have shown you that the amount of money cheated by illegal business for 18 and 19-year-olds is twice that of 20-year-olds. This clearly shows that more people are being cheated. And their second attack was that we do not have the data about how many people will face danger. But as I have said in my questioning time, it is about the future and we cannot have the data for that. The third attack was about the young people are given education and it is enough. However, adults have received education as well. Therefore, the situation is the same. And when we think about the difference between 18, 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds, the major difference is whether they're minors or adults and whether they need parental consent or not. Therefore, we can say that parental consent is needed. Their fourth attack was, another attack was about the data about the percentage of who disagree and agree. But they did not allow us to finish our answer, and I would now like to explain. We have said that 56% of the voting population is against the lowering of age, and 23% is agreeing to it. And the other remainder is that they did not answer, so only 23% had agreed, not 44%. And their fourth attack was about voices, but I think they have misunderstood. Thank you.
Now it's time for the formative summary speech. Are you ready?
Okay.
You have 2 minutes.
Right.
Please begin now.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm going to summarize this round. Next, I'm going to compare the value. First of all, let's look at the disadvantage one, financial problems. But ladies and gentlemen, without parental consent, every financial problem will happen. But how important parental consent is, we can see clear element from that. And in the first place, those kind of financial problems will never ever occur because he showed that Japanese students have enough knowledge on finance. Moreover, they have no impact. What kind of financial problem will occur and how serious that will be? We can see clear impact from that. Disadvantage 2, voting rate. They say after plan adoption, because public opinion wouldn't be reflected by the government, that is against the democracy. No, we don't say we will ignore the older generation. we say we have to maintain the equal balance between the generations. That's the true democracy, ladies and gentlemen. And second of all, the effect, after plan adoption, many people will suddenly stop voting, but why? There is no effect. On the other hand, we say one political party can exist because of the young people's vote. Only three population, but strong impact we show you. Actually, American politics actually changed because of young voters. Next, I'm going to compare the financial problems and political participation. Which is more important? Which has more stronger impact in terms of quality? They have no impact. How serious that will be? But we say we are talking about next leader of Japan, our future. That's why our argument is more important. Voting rate, political participation, which is more likely to happen in terms of probability. They say people will suddenly stop voting. But why? There is no process, lack of effect, lack of process of effect. But we say, show you the local referendum evidence, and actually America changed the politics, and 3% is enough impact to change the politics. That's why we strongly beg to propose. I said again, we have to talk about future of Japan, next generation, next leader of this country.
Time.
That's why we strongly beg to propose. Thank you.
Please begin now.
Now, I'd like to summarize this debate. Our first point was need of parental consent. We mentioned that parental consent clearly helps to reduce the number of financial crimes. So, if the age of adulthood was lowered, the number of financial crime will increase. Keeping the age of adulthood at 20 would definitely prevent the rising crimes. And our second point was decreasing voting rights. We talked about how the majority of the people distrust the government if they lower the age. Their distrust will deepen and therefore result in a decrease in voting rates. And the affirmative side opposed that to both of our points, just we do not have evidence. However, we have shown you evidences. Also, they have only attacked us about evidence in this point. Therefore, I assume that they have accepted our idea. So our arguments still remains. Affirmative point was about voting, but as we said, keeping the public opinion means that means the opinions of all people who have voting rights is more and more important than 2% of population's opinion. However, as my teammate said, we talked about over 20 and Japan's benefits, and they said hearing young people's voices is democratic, but however, it's absolutely more democratic to hear voice all of who have voting rights. So clearly, their argument is not democratic, it's not important compared to us, and it does not stand. From all these points, it can be said our disadvantages outweigh the advantage they mentioned. And clearly, we have won this debate. Thank you.